Hi, I'm Kelly Morrison. I'm a project officer at the Centre for Recreation and Tourism Research based at the University of Highlands and Islands. I'm sorry I can't be presenting live today, but hopefully this recorded presentation shares a bit about what I was going to talk about in this intangible knowledge transmission section. So I'm going to talk a bit about a couple of projects that the Centre's worked on for the past few years. They've both been story-based, gathering stories and knowledge from within coastal communities in the West Coast and Islands of Scotland. One's a much bigger scale project, a longer term one, and another's a focused, quite short term, very localised project. So I'm going to try not to focus too much on the detail of them, but more so on the processes, sharing the learnings and the outputs from this intangible knowledge transmission that we've worked on. So in terms of geography, the area I'm talking about, this is a screenshot from the coast, the larger project I mentioned, from its website, an interactive map to explore the stories that were gathered and mapped. So all these islands across the West Coast and Ireland are stories that were shared as part of that. And just to give you an idea of our gallery, a much smaller localised community for the smaller project. It's close to the much larger town of Fort William, but it's just across a small ferry crossing on a peninsula. So I'm going to just chat a bit more about that project as well, which was gathering stories to make a trail in that small community. So to go back to coast, as I said, this was the larger project. It ran for 3.5 years in total. It was well funded, there was a lot of people involved, and it ran during the pandemic. So this started early 2020. So a lot of the gathering of the stories that happened had to take part during lockdowns and varying rules, etc. And the purpose was very much to gather approximately 400 stories from within communities themselves across the West Coast Islands of Scotland, that geography and geographical area that I showed you on the map. It was to engage local story gatherers, which I'll show you in a second. So very much engaging people at the heart of their communities to go out and to find those hidden gems and find voices that hadn't heard from before and share new stories or elements of more well-known stories about places. So we curated what was gathered and then shared those stories across a website and app and used exhibition to be able to transmit the stories to a wider audience, very much to share these aspects of cultural heritage for both locals and visitors. But very much the importance was on locals as well as visitors to get a deeper understanding of the place and to hear the new sites that they wouldn't have necessarily heard before. So the story gatherers. So these people were really key to the success of this project, and really being that well-known and connected person within their community, and making those links to facilitate gathering the stories, because it's just not something we could have done without these locally connected gatherers. So a really important part of this project, and I think about best practice of sharing intangible knowledge, is having that person, that local connection that can facilitate it. And I'm just about to show a short video. It was created by one of the companies involved in the project. And the first person you hear from is Angus Murray, who was one of the story gatherers from Skye, from the area staff in Skye. And speaks in Gaelic, but there is a translation underneath. And I think what he shares is very important to this passing on of stories, particularly from older generations, and that scope, that time to do it, and when they're gone, it's too late. So I think, thought this was a really nice way just to share more deeply about what the project is really about.
Consigliere geologa gemakslanlıkta developed a ideology for 30 years and it's got in and this I guess the gemaakt ideology skill and answer is the ideology of got there. Als goed dat we klare skill for the gymnastics and consigliere geologa dus van in de wetenschap maar uur kan skiën. En de lukken kan geboren die klaar skill je fijn kan die vrienden zijn en je kan laten voor kan kan ik denk die vrienden geven en kan bij een case het is een aantal gehad dat dat ik in de I can together to government and it's not going to budget things we might plus answer the skiën in de skiën I guess dat je een conflict met wordt. En is het skill in de vaak in de werk gemaakt. Kunt er maken van die klare share ben je waar open en heel lang zo'n dating in dat aan de drie te maken maken in Nederland. I guess waar kan aan te bieden en de skill van zorgen en je bent klaar en de shit I guess en share en die kan je nog in je naar de en yoga bij maar coördinering of zo'n planning. Als je dat is als je een taak is dat inderdaad dus is er maar zo taak en je kunt maken van je gap iemand dat is gap skill dat je die planning parkje dus gaat ook de function kan en ben je voor geen en kan je het doen.
The COAST project started from an idea at a summit held in Oban at the start of 2019 with a group of chosen GMOs from across the west coast of Scotland. It evolved throughout the rest of 2019 and officially started at the end of that year thanks to funding from Nature Scots Natural and Cultural Heritage Fund and also through match funding from CalMac and from Western GHI. We've also worked with a number of consultants with Lateral North and Rural Conventions being project coordinators and Lateral North also doing the display creations and creating the exhibitions both virtual and in person and Forever doing the website and app development too. So as well as story gatherers, there's been a lot of different people involved bringing all these elements together. So there were both tangible and intangible outputs that came out of the project. Obviously the vast amount of stories that were gathered and the community says that came out of that too, people be able to contribute to workshops and speak to their local story gatherers within communities. So I think that sense of sharing has been a really positive thing, as well as of course the stories then being put into the website and the app as resources for visitors and locals to hear and read and enjoy the stories as well.
Over the last 3 years, our role has been two different parts of the project. So the first has been to coordinate that, which is working alongside all the story gatherers, which are from the whole west coast of Scotland, to help them gather stories for heritage, all the way to myths and legends and lots of other stuff. And the second part has been working on different exhibitions. So it's curating and then moving exhibitions around to showcase all the different stories that we collected as part of the COAST project. We developed 8 different themes. So those 8 different themes allowed the story gatherers to collect different stories under those headings, but then also for us, it allowed us to develop some brand identity that really spoke of the different elements or the different parts of the west coast of Scotland. The other part that's been really important for us is actually getting a really strong geographical spread, so all the way from our Hebrides to Isla and via the south and west coast of Scotland. It's a really huge array of stories, all 1600s that have been collected. There's a whole set of work that's being done by the University of Highlands and Islands to continue to develop the project, but also from our side, in particular with the climate emergency, biodiversity loss, and lots of other global challenges. We're trying to look at the projects in a different way, and instead of looking at the past, we're looking at the future. So instead of the coast of shaping the world, it's about how the world is shaping the coast. We ran an event in Glasgow where all of the exhibits that we created for folks to presented, and also had lots of people talk about not only the West Coast but the whole of Scotland's coastline and how it is being adversely affected in different ways, and how as people, as communities, as organisations, as Scotland as a whole can address all of these different challenges and local and leads to a better future for everyone.
Well, I hope I was really always helpful in just really showing what the project was about and the learnings that came from the project and the discussions of coastal stories and issues, and that was kind of turned around to an event that was held about discussing the Scottish coast, climate change, and how everything's so interconnected. Getting back to the coast, the stories that came out of that gathering process and how we share them. I think three key words we had were, as on screen, authentic, engaging, and intriguing, to really share things in authentic ways that have been sort of relatable and really captures people's imagination as well. So we had, I'll run through this quite quickly, but we shared the stories on the website, which I'll share beyond. And it was it looked for stories in different ways, so there's different themes like community, migrations, changing environment, and social events, which is a popular one. And we also had kind of sub-themes, which we call tags. So these were more topical stories that were shaped by lighthouses, Gaelic culture, and crofting. And we had an app, which also had a portion of the stories and audio to listen to, could be downloaded as well. And listen to either on site and location of the story or at home accessing the app. There was also a series of touring exhibitions, like story cards, that again taking these stories out and about across the West Coast, and social media posts, of course, and also events where my colleague Katie and I talked to heritage groups and tourism bodies to really highlight these stories and share them with a number of different groups. And there's some of the on the left is the story gatherers that were involved in the project too, that we met safe from the mutual events. So to look a bit more at the other smaller scale project that I mentioned, based in the community of Argyll, this was actually a project funded through Arctic Connections to the Scottish Government, and it was a shared learning funding between the small community of Argyll in Scotland and the small community of Lapland in Finland. So learning from each other, but also learning as we did it as a pilot project of community-led curation. It was my colleagues who mainly worked on this one, and it was really looking at how these smaller rural communities close to larger tourist hubs could benefit from positioning themselves with a tourist offering, and about really preserving that local culture heritage that has been potentially in danger of being lost or being overshadowed by these larger tourist attractions, or obviously the example of Lapland that focus very much on the Christmas experience. So trying to really get back to the grassroots of sharing the community stories. So we're testing a methodology that could be replicable in other places and communities, and creating a how-to guide and creating an audio trail essentially, which we use a button called GeoTourist, which is free to use. So how to really show a no cost way to create this resource, and giving assets and capability to communities to do this for themselves, and also have a low intervention impact of not adding to additional interpretation or infrastructure, but using digital means and just adding the QR code in the case of our gather to the existing interpretation boards. So how this was done in our gather, there was 2 community workshops. Apologies, I realised my head is in the way of the workshops there. So the first one we need to just gather residents of the community, tell them about the project, show them kind of maps, and ideas and routes and best practice for audio recording, because it's about the community members using their own voices to tell the stories that we told by them for the platform. So this was facilitated by my colleague Kendra, actually, who lives in the Ardara community. And just again, how valuable this was that she knew these people, they knew her. It really helped to facilitate and speed up the ability to reach the outcome, and how important that knowledge was. So the second workshop was very much more about trying to actually plot the stories on a map and allocate ownership to individuals to boldly record, write, share these stories that they'd volunteered. And it worked really well. And there was a lot of attendance, as you can see from the pictures, a lot of enthusiasm and buying and passion to create this for their village. And to show you, this is the Geotours platform. The walking art gallery, which is called quite simply. It was guiding people around an existing walking route in the village, but allocating stories to each of these points as told by members of the community. So sharing their local knowledge, which somebody visiting may not ultimately know or hear, but this digital platform gave a way of sharing that. And this is an example of one of the stories, everyday life in North Corran. So again, it's just real, some of it's anecdotal stories being told, some of it was more themed, but this story is being told by the community member, and if you go in and listen to it, they're all really short, so our memories in a smack community that knowing that people would be moving on different points in the route. So that was just to show you that one as well. So really just to round up and share some learnings, I've talked quite a bit about that importance of a known face, a known local facilitator, story gatherers, we called it in the post project, but just that connector that people feel comfortable with, that they can approach, someone who really can make that connection between the community or whoever is sharing that tangible knowledge and whoever is driving a project or whatever the outcome is intended to be. So at UHR, so our role is guiding and supporting, and either us facilitating or working with people who are facilitating as well, and letting the community and the people who are sharing the knowledge really take the lead, creating their own content, which is being there as a support. We learned about the value of being as local as possible in terms of geography. When we did this on our project compared to the wider scale coast, despite being the local story gatherers, we realised how valuable just going really local is in that sense of your own face. I think this was easier on the islands, for example, but maybe not so much on the larger towns and areas on the West Wales mainland. So again, that just really comes back to that connector, and if they're knowing more locally to a smaller population, that seemed to really work well. Allowing plenty of time then. This was just, I guess, with a lot of work that involves people and a number of people, and people maybe taking on new skills or taking time to reminisce and share, just allowing that time to build that connection relationship and not rush it, but also we get the outcomes done in the deadlines. Just very much learning about the power of knowledge exchange, and I think this is on many levels between project partners and that shared learning between the Finnish and Scottish partners in the Ardgour project, and exchanging between the gatherers, not the different people who are involved in the host project, but obviously just the sharing of stories, passing on myths and legends and history of places. It's just been really powerful to see that in action. And I think one thing, looking at some of the evaluations of the benefits that the projects have had in enhancing participants' knowledge of their own area, and just hearing maybe a story that their neighbour was told they didn't necessarily know. I think that in itself, just things you might assume people would know about their local area. I think there's always more to learn, and having it recorded or shared in a way that can keep going is really, really important. So just to balance, I'm just going to share the links. My apologies there. This is the links to the project sites that I've mentioned. So www.coast.scot is where you'll find out as well some fantastic stories. We got Gallup Trail, and you'll discover geotours.com. And please do get in touch if you have any questions or you want to chat about this or our learnings from the projects and any more as well. So my email, kelly.morrison@uhid.ac.uk. And once again, just to say thank you for listening. Again, apologies I'm not there in person. And also just something small that I wanted to share that I just remembered was that the stories we gathered as part of the Ardgour project also we fed back in and added to the Coast project. So I think that continual adding, that continual knowledge exchange really does never stop. And I think having that facility to keep adding to it really works well as well. So just that came to me, I just wanted to end it on that as well. Thank you very much.